Salutations, future Twig. Past Twig here once again. We're back with another card call out for everyone today. And today we actually have a double header because we have two cards today that are very similar in terms of their effect and how they work, and as such that would probably benefit from the same kinds of commanders and synergies. So we're going to be talking today about Hesitation as our main card, and also including Lunar Force with the kind of the same thing, so it'll be in the background as well. And with that out of the way, let's get right on into it. Hesitation is a 2-mana enchantment that simply reads, if any spell is played, counter that spell and sacrifice Hesitation. Lunar Force is very similar. It is a 3-mana enchantment, and what it says is whenever an opponent casts a spell, sacrifice Lunar Force and counter that spell. So basically it's a little bit of a newer card, costs you one more, but your own spells are not affected, which I believe is the main reason why Hesitation is probably not played in a whole lot of decks. It's just because it says any spell is played, and obviously that means that includes your spells, and no one likes having their spells countered. Before we get on to synergies, let's quickly go over the price of the card. It is actually right now only been printed once back in Stronghold, age-old card, and it's 23 cents. And as you can see, it's played on almost no decks. Less than 1,000 decks on EDH Rec run this card. I think it's just because everyone's so scared of that downside about their spells getting countered, and because it's not direct targeted or spot removal. Even though it's listed in the card callout section on Moxfield as being that space, it's not technically a targeted or spot removal because you don't have as much control over what spells get countered by this card, since it's up to your opponents or whoever's playing out spells at the time. And with the statistics out of the way, let's get on to the synergies. First one I came up with was Adric, Mathematical Genius, and that I think this is a big way you can get around it, is that he can copy target activated or triggered ability you control, and you can choose new target for the copy, or you can pay 2 and sacrifice him to counter target activated or triggered ability. So I think with this, it allows you to kind of get around the downfalls of Hesitation. Hesitation is usually going to be punishing decks that want to cast or play out a lot of spells. So if you have a lot of stuff that deals with like abilities of permanents that you have that are on the battlefield, having down something that will automatically counter the next spell isn't actually as bad. And as I'll have a story for you guys in a little bit, I'll tell you it can be very effective just to have that counter spell just sit on the battlefield that's guaranteed to go off the next time something's played. So first big synergy is any commander like Adric that cares about permanents being on the battlefield and doing stuff with like abilities of creatures or abilities of artifacts or whatever might be on the battlefield. Additionally, if for example some really weird stack synergy happens where people are casting multiple pieces of targeted spot removal, or perhaps they're casting multiple different kinds of board wipes, you can actually copy the triggered ability of Hesitation with Adric and then potentially counter 2 spells as opposed to 1. Another thing to consider is, unlike most counterspells, Hesitation is in fact an enchantment. As such, there are a lot of enchantment-themed commanders that can actually benefit from Hesitation's typing. A great example being Zur the Enchanter. First off, whenever he attacks, you can get out an enchantment card with mana value of 3 or less and put it directly onto the battlefield. So this actually allows you to search out and get out your Hesitation at a time of convenience. Additionally, what's nice is because Zur is getting cards directly from your library onto the battlefield, you don't have to cast them from your hand so Hesitation won't attack them. So this actually is a great way to get around Hesitation while keeping Hesitation on the battlefield as like a great discouragement from your opponents trying to cast stuff or mess with you, especially in a combat-heavy deck like Zur the Enchanter. And last but not least is Tamishi, Reality Architect. This is actually one of the very first commanders I ever got a chance to play in like a commander deck that I had built myself. And Hesitation and Lunar Force were both run in that list because I built it out as an enchantment recursion style deck. And so because the main downside of Hesitation and Lunar Force is that you play them, they counter one thing and they're gone forever, well, Tamishi helps to get around that and bring them back for more value. Additionally, this also led to one of the funniest instances I've ever had playing Magic the Gathering, which is that I played down Hesitation on turn 2 right when I was able to because it was in my starting hand, and I kid you not, we had 4 turns around the table where everyone dropped their land per turn and passed. No one played anything into Hesitation. They were so scared of losing their stuff. And that was actually great for me because I was running a $50 budget deck and everyone else was running like a net deck that I think we had prices ranging from about $200 to $600 represented at the table. Obviously, financial price does not equate to power level, but you can imagine that they all had their cyclonic rifts and other stuff that were kind of holding in hand. So Hesitation kept the field clean for me for an insanely long time, all the way up until turn 6, and by that point, I have more mana available to me, I've grown my hand a little bit, I've been able to filter through some cards, and I actually had some spells that I was ready to play, so I played out a 1 mana enchantment that got countered, and then I was able to continue playing stuff from my hand. But it is insane to me that Hesitation bought me all of that time, and that everyone was so terrified of this little 2 mana enchantment that it kind of kept the field clean, and it was just a fantastic experience, and we still talk about that event to this day, because it was just such a janky and one-off experience. And that is actually all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Card Callouts, and have a wonderful day all. Take care.